Hi YouTube, ACDodd here, and welcome to another episode of On the Road Tuning with me, ACDodd. And today I've got, in this episode we've got three cars for you. The first car I do believe is a little 998, the second car is a 998, and I can't remember what the third car is, so let's dig in and find out. Okay, so here we are, we've got a beautiful car. Lovely restoration, and I like the colours, I must admit. So this is a 998. Lovely interior, look at those seats, beautiful. And when I got to this car, it didn't run. Okay, so this one, I've checked the coil, it's 1.5 ohm coil, we've got a ballast ignition system, that's all working properly. Obviously when I first come out to this one, it wouldn't start. So my first my first look at this was, what's the issue? And Brett showed me, the owner showed me the plugs, which were black, so we put a new set of plugs in it, gapped them at 25 thou, and then tried to start it. It wouldn't start. I checked to make sure that there was a spark, which there was. Anyway, as it turns out, the fuel was just way too lean, so I fiddled with the car, got it running. Anyway, we now have a running engine, at least at idle anyway. I've checked the timing, that's all good. It's a brand new distributor which matches the coil, so the only thing I need to do on that is a dwell angle check, just to make sure it's a variable dwell. If it isn't, then I can advise the customer accordingly. And then we're going to look at the carburetor fueling and see what's what. I don't believe the carburetor's a rebuilt one, it's just nicely clean, so we'll get the analyzer up the pipe and see how well that's running. Okay, so looking at the dwell angle, some people have said to me, what's a variable dwell? Well, a variable dwell angle is exactly what it says, is as you rev the engine, the dwell angle changes. So as we can see there, at idle, the coil charge time is cut right down. When we pick the revs up, the coil charge time's increased to counteract the reduction in time between firings. So this is a variable dwell setup. The most important thing is this is all working as it should. The only downside with this is, in reality, you don't actually need the ballast wire, and the reason for it is because you've got a variable dwell setup. So what we're going to do is look at converting this one to get rid of the ballast wire, because this has got a variable dwell setup. Okay, so what I've done is I've removed the ballast feed from the coil and I've replaced it with a solid wire. And even though that's a 1.5 ohm coil, the reason why I've done that is because it's a variable dwell distributor. So hopefully the module won't overheat. If it was a power spark one, then I know it wouldn't overheat because they're rated for it. So I've agreed with the owner to do it because the engine obviously runs better, because we've now got the proper power at the coil when it's idling, and more importantly starting, so it now starts easier. So now we can go ahead with the tuning. Okay, so on this one, I haven't been able to finish the tune, and the reason is because I can't get any sense out of that carburetor. So on further investigation, we've got quite a few air leaks. So we've got a little bit of air leak on the manifold, a little bit of air leak on the inlet manifold, a little bit of air leak on the throttle spindles. So we're going to call it a day here today, but I've advised the customer to fit a rebuilt carburetor with new spindle bushes. He's going to take the manifold off, and or the manifolds off, because I do believe we've also got a leak on the exhaust manifold as well. So what we're going to do is give the owner some time to be able to fix all that and make sure that the manifold flanges are all the right height and everything fits properly, and then get it all back on nice and tight, fit the new carb, and then I can come back and do that a little bit later. So yeah. This is a good example of ones when you come out to it, what you do to the carburetor makes no change to the fueling or the characteristics. So one of the things that this was doing is, no matter what I did to the needle, it was very lean just off idle. So 2,000 to 3,000 revs, it was like 1.5, 1.6 on the lambda, and no matter what I did to the needle, it made no difference at all. So yeah, anyway, that's one of the reasons why I think the owners had a number of issues trying to get this to run, is because in reality, you know, he's on a hide into nothing because of the air leaks, etc. So we shall revisit this one another day. Okay, so we're up in Ruislip, and this is an 84 City E Mini that's been a bit modified, and it belongs to Lewis, and Lewis has called me down because he needs some tuning, and especially at the moment it's not running. So I think it's just sorted itself up, so we'll dig into that, and then we'll come back when it's running, and we can start doing some work. Okay, so this is Lewis.
Hello.
He's called me down here today to look at his lovely little 998. So what's up with it?
It's just been running really rough. Past few weeks it's been on 3 cylinders. When it does get up to temperature and drivable, it has a flat spot. Yeah, it just needs sorting really. Okay,
I notice you've also asked me to change the ignition system as well. So I've brought down a high energy ignition system. So we'll put that in as before we do the tune, and then hopefully that should take care of anything. And along with some carb mods, it should go really well. So let's get stuck in and see what we can find out.
Cheers.
Okay, so we've solved the initial non-running. Basically, the centre 2 spark plugs were completely wet, loaded with fuel. So in actual fact, somebody had set this up very rich. So I've leaned it off, put a new set of spark plugs in, and now the engine runs. The next thing we're going to do before we do any tuning is we're going to look at the distributor, take that out. We're going to put a new ACDodd recurved power spark distributor with a 0.8 ohm coil, and then increase the spark plug gap, and then we can start tuning the carb. Okay, so we've got the old Decellier distributor out. I'm just fitting the new power spark unit in there. Most important thing to make sure that nothing touches, and I think we've got a few little wires that are in that may need to be moved slightly, because I don't want anything earthing out. Obviously it causes fires. So the next thing we need to do is reroute that, and then think about changing the coil for a higher power one to match the new unit. Okay, so we've got the new distributor in, high power Dizzy, 0.8 ohm coil, rigged up the spark plugs. Now we've got to time the thing in. So we need a little bit more advance. Probably about there. Okay, and try it when we rev it. A few more degrees. Be about there. So what we're going to do now, the ignition timing's set, we're going to work on the carburetor and get that needle dialed in. Okay, so we finally got there in the end. Now this was a royal pain, to be precise. The carburetor, although responded in every other respect to the fueling changes, the accelerator pump effect was on the extreme end. So I can put some very thick oil in it to try and get enough fuel enrichment on the acceleration. But we have a workable engine. So what I'm going to do now is send the owner out and see what he thinks. Right, so Louis's been out in his car. Look at the smile.
Yeah.
So we've already had a discussion about this one not being perfect for one particular reason, and that is we seem to have an SU that's on the extreme end of its accelerator pump effect. But the point is, what does it go like now?
Oh, so much better. Yeah, it goes really, really well.
It certainly sounded well when you was going around the block. I could hear you go through the gears. So, did you expect it to run that well?
No, I'll be honest, no. I thought there would be an improvement, but not that much of an improvement. It's night and day difference.
Wonderful. It's funny that everyone uses night and day. Anyway, I'll ask you the same as I asked a lot of other people. Would you recommend this service to anyone else?
Absolutely, yes.
Excellent. All right, well, I was glad I was able to sort your car out as well as we can. So thanks for inviting me down.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so this is the third car, and we're in Aylesbury. I've just come down and got set up, and this is a nice 89, relatively stock on the inside. I think that is basically almost perfectly stock on the inside, and then on the outside it's a sort of a racer. So let's under the bonnet and see what we got. Okay, so under the bonnet we have the powerhouse of a 998 A Plus engine. There's a few little things that have already been done to it. So we've got an ACDodd coil. I think we've got an ACDodd distributor. So electronic ignition, power spark leads, relatively new spark plugs. So someone's been in here changing stuff, which is good. Someone's also 3D printed some sort of air intake for the air filter. And we've got a stage 1 kit. So as I say, all looks fairly benign, yet useful. So let's go and talk to the owner and see why he's called us down. Okay, so this is Ben. Ben's the owner of this nice little blue Mini. So why have you called us down today, Ben?
I phoned you down today on recommendation from a friend and a colleague that I work with. And yeah, before I put the stage 1 kit on and that, it was running a bit flat. So I just got it down to get the expertise on tweaking it and getting it running right.
Okay, so you say it's running a bit flat. Any other issues when you're driving, or just generally a bit underpowered?
Yeah, just generally a bit underpowered, really. So,
okay.
So yeah.
All right, well, let's dig in, see what we can find.
Perfect.
Okay, so first things first. Engine's running at the moment, and I've got the dwell meter on. And as we've already seen before, this is a variable dwell dizzy, okay? We've got the correct 1.5 ohm core, but as you can see, we've got a ballast resistor fitted with a variable dwell. So again, we're losing out coil power, and this engine won't start straight away because it's only got half the coil power when it's trying to crank. So what I'm going to do is put the bypass wire on and hope again that the module doesn't overheat in this case. If that was a power spark one, I'd know it would work straight away, but in this case, I'm not sure. So the owner's given me permission to do that. So let's dig in, get that changed, and then we'll look at the spark plugs. So, on this one, fitted the bypass wire, so we got full power to the coil. I tried to do a start on the engine to see if it improved the starting, and it didn't. And that is because the spark plugs are fouled. Very rich running, and the gap is huge. So although these have only been in 2 weeks, this is what happens if you change bits and don't tune an engine. So what we're going to do now is re-gap those. I'm going to try and see if I can use them instead of replacing them, and see if they'll clean up, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we're just moving on to the carburettor. One of the things I'm noticing is it's nice and lean, and as we wait, you'll see that gradually get richer on its own, and there's a reason for that, and that's because there's wear in the carburettor, and in particular it's the needle valve that's wearing. So if we wait long enough, you'll see that gradually come down into the 9s. There you go. And if you wait long enough, it will go down into the 8s, and that's because the needle valve in the float chamber is unable to control the fueling, so it gradually floods. You can see now we're now in the 9s. If I wait another minute or so, that will be nearly into the 8s. You can see that we're in the low 9s now, and it's just starting to clip the 8s. So we can see that that carburettor is unable to control the fueling. And if you've got a carburettor like that, that is not possible to tune because you've got no baseline. So the remedy is either a new carb, or at the very least change the needle valve. Okay, so what I've done, taken the top of the float chamber off, fitted a new needle in the float chamber lid, and then the one that's come out, I don't know if you can see that, but we've got a huge wear seat on there. So that should stop that flooding and going rich when we're running. Okay, so the needle that was in this one was an AAV. Wasn't actually too bad, but it was too lean at the top end of the rev range. So what I've done is I've changed it for an AAE needle, which is now in the machine. And this needs modifying to give it a bit more fuel between 2,000 and 3,000 RPM. So it's pretty close. So let's get that done, get it back in and see how it runs. So we got this one all finished. So just to sum up what we did, bypassed the ballast wire. So we got 1.5 ohm coil running with the variable dwell dizzy. The timing curve inside that distributor is very good, so it seems to be working okay. And then we got to the carburetor, which was worn, so we had to put a new needle valve in the carb, which I've done. The oil in the dashpot was pretty good, and the needle was too lean, so it was actually not bad at part throttle, but it was much too lean at the top end. So changed the needle for an AAE, and then I had to adjust it to 2,000 to 3,000 revs to make it a bit richer. But the end result is very good. So we're going to let the owner go out in it now, and we've also stopped our wandering. So yeah, test drive, let's go. Right then, so you've been out in it. Look at the smile.
I think the smile says it all. Yes.
So what have you got? What's the difference?
It's got a lot more throttle response now. It sounds meatier. It drives so much more better than it did before. Yeah.
Okay, all right, excellent. So flat spots?
No flat spots either. No, where there was before.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Does it feel like the same car?
No. It feels like a completely different car now.
So it feels like I bolted an extra cylinder on, got rid of all the roughness. Yeah,
definitely.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm glad we was able to sort it out. There was a few things. Obviously, I think your carburettor is on borrowed time. Obviously, we've put a needle valve in there to at least keep it going for now and enable us to get the tune done.
Yeah.
Although it drives all right, as I say, I think carburettor for maybe next year, or whenever you get annoyed with the idle that won't come down all the time. But in terms of this service, how would you rate this?
Off the scale, I'd say more than 10 out of 10. It's unbelievable. Can't believe it.
And obviously recommend to others?
Highly recommend to anyone that even thinks their car's running okay. There's always something, and that's incredible.
Okay, and what do you do for a living?
I'm a mechanic.
So you're a motor mechanic, and you're telling other, yeah, okay, and that's what I wanted to say is, you work in the trade,
yeah,
and even you're surprised.
Yes, definitely, yeah, definitely.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, thank you very much for getting me down.
Thank you.
And I'm glad I was able to make such an improvement.
I'm so glad you came.
That's all right, no problem. Thank you. Okay, so we got to the end of the video there. I just wanted to recap on the car at the beginning. You know, if you call me out to a car and unfortunately it's got air leaks or the carburetor's faulty, there's absolutely nothing I can do to tune it. The car has to be in a serviceable condition. You know, otherwise, you know, you could end up wasting my time and your money. But in reality, what I will do in those situations is go through the faults and identify the work that needs to be done to rectify them. But I can't do it on the road because A, I don't carry the tools, and B, there isn't the time. So just make sure that if you're booking me to come out for a tune, that the car is ready to tune, you've got no air leaks, and yeah, it's all ready to accept some spanner work to get it dialed in. Anyway, as ever, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.